What a week it's going to be on Capitol Hill. Today, we're going to see about Bruce Ohr and his wife and what their relationship is with Fusion GPS.
Ohr is a guy who met with someone from Fusion GPS on more than one occasion. Why would someone from DOJ be holding those meetings? And by the way, his wife worked for them. The coincidences are piling up way too high.
Republicans prepared to end the year united on tax reform without one Democrat on board.
Democrats are opposing this bill for the same reason Republicans are supporting it, and that's because it's going to work.
If you look at the thing by and large, it is very meaningful for middle-class families.
Today, President Trump is set to unveil his national security strategy, the America First focus.
This is a kind of necessary reassessment of what our interests really are and what we really can and need to accomplish in the foreign policy realm.
A massive power outage brought Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta to a complete standstill for 11 hours.
The daily average for the week, the last 7 days, is about 1,300.
1,300
across
1,300 people across the Southwest border. We played every song on the album.
We are. Listen, today, on this Monday, we are exactly 7 days away, 1 week away from Christmas 2017.
It's just so fun. I'm so excited.
Are you?
Yeah. Everyone's off next week.
Well, I'm excited, but there's still a lot to do.
Yeah, because you were just showing us, because just a moment ago, I'm not going to reveal what it was, but Brian was still shopping for his wife, Dawn.
Right. We're in a countdown clock. You know, she's not easy to shop for.
Donnie's getting everyone's opinion, and so you're going to love whatever he gets you.
Right, that's right.
But everyone has a different opinion.
Right.
You need to give her something good, because I don't know why. That's the only thing you have to do this week, because we know Dawn does everything for you.
That is not
That
true.
is so true.
By the way, please thank your wife for our Christmas gift from you.
Thank you.
Once again, it came.
We got a Christmas
from Dawn Kilmeade.
Yep.
She knows I did not. She says she definitely signed my name to the gift.
Dawn
She didn't sign your name. So we got a Christmas gift from Dawn. Now we're waiting on one from Brian.
Well, I just say this. Steve gave me the best advice back in 1973. No appliances for your wife.
That's right.
No irons.
No.
Nothing with a plug.
Right.
Jewelry.
Nothing.
No
shopping.
pans. No pans.
Yeah. Don't give her a vacuum. All right, let's talk about
that.
some news today as you continue to think about your shopping list.
And the big news is, with Christmas a week away, a lot of people are traveling, and if they were stopped or flying into or out of Atlanta yesterday, it was nothing but trouble. The lights were out, no electricity, and over 1,000 flights were canceled.
Talk about frustration.
No
Power
kidding.
is now back on at the world's busiest airport, where thousands of passengers were stranded, or still stranded, I should say, this morning because of that power outage.
Todd Pyro is not able to be. He was not in Atlanta. He's here. Hey, Todd.
What's up, guys? Yeah, this outage absolutely messing up holiday travel for passengers, canceling more than 1,000 flights, with hundreds more still grounded today. People waiting around in dark terminals for hours after the lights suddenly shut off around 1 yesterday afternoon. Atlanta's mayor saying an electrical fire might have caused this outage.
The lights flickered once. It was really scary, but we were like, hopefully nothing happens. And then they flickered again, and they didn't come back.
I literally spent a whole 7 hours on an airplane without food or water.
We have to go through the tunnels that are pitch black. It's scary.
Flyers describing the lights going out, some terrified about what was happening. The airport's Chick-fil-A, listen to this, typically closed on Sundays, came to the rescue, handing out 2,000 meals to stranded passengers. You know, Chick-fil-A is typically not open on Sundays because of religious reasons. The lights did not come back on until around midnight. More than 11 hours later, airport is rapidly returning to normal operations, but this disruption, as you know, comes as the holiday travel season is ramping up, with many passengers spending the night sleeping in the airport atrium and concourses. Not a great way to kick off your holiday season if you're traveling to see grandma, you know?
No kidding.
No, it's not.
All right, what a mess. Thank you very much, Todd. All right, meanwhile, let's talk about this. On this Monday, we look ahead to the week, and it looks as if the Republicans in Congress and the Republican at the White House could be on the cusp of a huge victory, as the House is going to get set to vote on tax reform, the first major tax reform in this country in decades. Looks like Tax Cut Tuesday could be just around the corner.
That is a huge victory for Republicans. They really need this going into the Christmas or finishing up the first year.
Right. There'll be 7 brackets still, but the bracket's going to be different. There's lots different when it comes to deductions. We get into detail with Kevin McCarthy, the Majority Leader, at 8:15 a.m. And also ask the Majority Leader if he's going to be losing a speaker in 2018. Is it true Paul Ryan's going to retire?
Well, there was that rumor out there, and then Paul Ryan said, don't believe it.
I don't know. He didn't seem emphatic. He wasn't like, absolutely not. I'm staying for 20 years.
Ivanka's also going to be on set with us. Also, let's talk about the FBI and the DOJ, because you're going to have key players from the FBI and the DOJ that are testifying on Capitol Hill. You'll see one today. That's Bruce Orr from DOJ. And then tomorrow you're going to see the FBI Director, Andrew McCabe.
Now, who is Bruce Orr, Ainsley?
So he's the guy. His wife works for Fusion GPS. He was assigned. He works for DOJ. He was assigned after the president was elected to work on the Russian collusion investigation. People started saying, wait a minute, this guy, his wife works for Fusion GPS. Wait a minute. He sat down and met with Christopher Steele, the guy who wrote the dirty dossier. This guy, it seems to be biased, and now he's investigating the president?
Right. And he got fired from the Mueller investigation. He's still a high-ranking official at the Department of Justice, but he's off the Mueller case.
All right. Now they're also going to be talking to Andy McCabe tomorrow. He is the deputy director, former acting director of the FBI, worked extremely tight with James Comey. Many people feel he's very loyal to Comey. The president, I think, called James Comey a bit of a whack job. So I think that there might be an agenda there, and I'm very curious about the text messages that talked about an Andy meeting and a plan just in case President Trump won the election. Meanwhile, there's other rumors. So is all these things, these storylines, legitimate storylines, very curious. And with the Republicans saying what is going on with the Mueller investigation, are there conflicted people at the top level of the Mueller investigation? All of a sudden, this story comes out of left field that the president is set to fire Robert Mueller, which, by the way, is not rooted in the White House. So with this storyline that doesn't exist, everyone makes it a #1 story to cover and get insight from, including the former Attorney General.
Yep. Eric Holder tweeted this out. Absolute red line. The firing of Bob Mueller or crippling the special counsel's office, if removed or meaningfully tampered with, there must be mass, popular, peaceful support of both. The American people must be seen and heard. They ultimately will be determinative. Meanwhile, the former president, Barack Obama's former ethics czar, a fellow by the name of Walt Schaub, he also took to Twitter and made it sound pretty grim.
He said, this weekend, I'm stocking up on portable phone chargers, warm clothes, and gear needed for when we take the streets. I'm concerned the assault on the rule of law is coming over the holidays when we're all distracted. It'll be a defining moment for the republic.
Look, the President of the United States yesterday, he'd heard these rumors, but then again, we've heard these rumors for months. You know, the president doesn't like the way the investigation's going to go. He's going to get rid of Mueller. Jeff Sessions never should have recused himself. We've heard that on a cycle, on a loop for months. Yesterday, given the Jackie Speier rumor, he had to respond, and he did with this.
Quite sad to see that. So my people were very upset about it. I can't imagine there's anything on him, frankly, because, as we said, there's no collusion. There's no collusion whatsoever. But a lot of lawyers thought that was pretty sad. No, I'm not.
He's not looking to fire him, but he wants the investigation over. He wants the House and Senate to be wrapped up. And the Democrats are desperate to keep this going on because it could only hurt the president. Maybe there's some people there that sincerely want to get to the bottom of it. And there's another guy like Adam Schiff who seems to be trying to make a career of it.
Cottage industry.
Yeah, and maybe possibly some feel leaking stories, many of which are inaccurate, to friendly members of the press.
Well, I mean, there has been no information. Listen, if there was something there, we would have heard it by now because it is so leaky. Anthony Scaramucci, who was the president's communications director for 11 days, he pointed out earlier, said from what they can tell, there's absolutely no collusion. Watch this.
Listen, I think he's probably frustrated by the process. I think he knows in his heart that he didn't do anything wrong as it relates to Russia or that sort of stuff. He probably doesn't like the nonsense as it relates to a distraction, but he's certainly not going to fire Mueller. I just think he's too smart to do something like that. He doesn't need another distraction on top of that distraction. I was there for 18 months, and I was also, look, I was in the White House for 11 days. Some people say 10 days. That hurts my feelings, Stephen, so let's just go with 11. But at the end of the day, I know the president didn't do anything wrong. Okay, I was there with him.
Well, the president's outside counsel, Jay Sekulow, is still calling for a second special investigation.
Yeah, President said there was no collusion with Russia, but he does want to continue to have a relationship with Vladimir Putin. He called him over the weekend or a few days ago and said, listen, there's going to be a terrorist attack.
Heads
and
up.
he thwarted that because the U.S. called and warned them, and they were able to prevent it.
And they spoke on Friday after the Vladimir Putin in his hour-long press conference said, it seems to me that President Trump's doing a good job. The economy's growing, but you guys... The problems with the spy mania is stopping any progress with the Russian-American relations.
All right, so that you're up to date right now
All
on
right.
what's going on.
There are a few more headlines, though, that we need to tell our viewers about. We now know a U.S. soldier killed in an ambush by ISIS-affiliated fighters in Niger fought until the very end. 2 senior defense officials tell Fox News Sergeant LaDavid Johnson was not executed or he wasn't captured during the October attack, as previous reports suggested. A military investigation found the 25-year-old was shot nearly 18 times. 3 other American soldiers, you see their pictures there, including 2 Green Berets, died in that attack. A fallen hero remembered as loved ones lined the streets to say goodbye to him. San Diego's firefighter Corey Iverson, the one who died battling the massive Thomas wildfire. We told you about it last week. The procession of first responders covered nearly 200 miles. Iverson leaves behind that little girl right there, a 2-year-old daughter, and his wife, who happens to be pregnant. You're so generous. You all started a GoFundMe page for his family. It's already raised more than $400,000. That'll help with college expenses and what their family needs. The worldwide effort to nullify President Trump's historic Jerusalem decision is intensifying today. The United Nations Security Council is expected to vote on a measure from Egypt that would void the declaration of the ancient city as Israel's capital. But the United States is expected to veto that. If it does happen, the proposal might go to the UN General Assembly. We'll keep you posted, of course. And hundreds of people attending the funeral of a Vietnam veteran and a Purple Heart recipient who they never even met. The Indiana funeral home could not find any of the 68-year-old Glenn Shelton's family members, so they reached out on Facebook, inviting people to come and pay their respects to the Marine.
I know he's looking down on us and just smiling because his family's here. His family is truly here.
That is so cool. So many people showed up for that ceremony. It had to be moved because so many people showed up to a bigger venue where it was standing room only. God bless everyone who went to that. That is really powerful.
Indeed.
Those are some headlines for you.
All right, 13 minutes after the hour. There are hundreds of arrests at the southern border. It happens every day. I went there to talk firsthand with one of the worst sectors in the country and those agents that are working hard to keep us safe. We're talking about the Rio Grande Valley.
And from tax reform to a new national security strategy, it's a huge week for the president. Ivanka Trump will weigh in on it all when she joins us live in about 15 minutes.
Bill is a disaster. It helps the wealthiest, most powerful corporations and individuals, and it hurts the middle class.
It's daylight robbery. And every iteration, the GOP tax scam becomes even more cowardly, outrageous, dishonest, brazen theft from middle-class families.
So there you've got the top Democrats in the Congress trashing the Republican tax plan, which it looks like is going to pass tomorrow or the next day. Let's bring in House Majority Leader, Congressman Kevin McCarthy of California. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm confused. You say it is a tax cut for businesses and the middle class, and the Democrats on the other side of the aisle said the middle class is getting hosed.
Well, remember, when Nancy Pelosi would say those type of things, they always go and rate her. And the most you can ever get if you tell something that's not true is 4 Pinocchios, and she's gotten 4 Pinocchios on her comments about this tax bill. If the median family of 4 makes $73,000, they're going to save more than $2,000. The Tax Foundation just came out and scored this. the after tax, the family is going to actually increase their income by 1.8%. This is a tax cut. If you're a family of four making $55,000, you pay zero in federal tax. This is an advantage for all of America to get stronger and more competitive.
Okay, I got a pretty good feeling that it's going to pass overwhelmingly in the House because there's a large majority there. But what about in the Senate? Because John McCain has gone home for the Christmas holiday. Are Republicans in the Senate confident they don't need his vote?
I believe when you saw Senator Corker came out, remember, Corker voted against the first version. This version is even better than the first one through because we took the best of both bills, and he has now supporting this bill. But we need to keep John McCain and his family in our prayers.
We do indeed. All right, let's talk about something that happens at 1 minute after midnight on Saturday morning, and that is the federal government is going to shut down unless you extend the funding for the government. It sounds like the Democrats are going to be, they've got the line in the sand, and that is unless there's a DACA deal in there, something for the dreamers, they're going to let the government shut down. Is that what you're hearing?
Not only hearing it, I watched it a week ago because we moved government funding just for 2 weeks. No change in government. And remember, that's when Nancy Pelosi went and said that the president's the only one who's talking about a shutdown. She not only voted against funding government for 2 weeks, she whipped against it, holding her members until Republicans passed it all the way. And normally, when it comes to these continuing resolutions where it's funding government for a short time, it's usually half the Republicans, half the Democrats come together to do that. But really, they're playing political games because they think Republicans will get blamed for shutting down the government when they're doing it.
But leader of the House Freedom Caucus, very clear, they're not going to vote for it. Too much spending.
Well, the one thing you see when you're just moving government for a short term, and this is where the House is very upset because we have passed all of our appropriation bills. We want to make sure the military has the resources they need. Remember, in our bill, they'll get a pay raise, our men and women in military, starting January 1st. But the longer that the Democrats delay, that doesn't happen.
Well, you got a busy week. We thank you very much for spending 5 minutes with us here at Fox and Friends. Leader.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Kevin McCarthy of California. Meanwhile, what is it really like at our American southern border with Mexico? Brian just took a trip there, as you can see. Coming up, see his interviews with the men and women who keep America safe each and every day.
400 a day here across the southwest border. The daily average for the week, the last 7 days, is about 1,300.
1,300?
Across the southwest
1,300
border.
people across the southwest border.
Population center.
Last week, we showed you Brian's exclusive interview with our brand new DHS Secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen, on like her 4th day on the job. But why did she choose to go to that area of the border in Texas within days of her confirmation?
All right. I asked the Border Patrol agents who are there each and every day before and after the new Homeland Security Secretary. And here's what they had to say about their challenge.
Yeah, 400 a day here across the southwest border. The daily average for the week, the last 7 days, is about 1,300.
1,300.
Those astonishing numbers are the reason why newly confirmed Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen spent her first week meeting with the Custom and Border Patrol agents in the Rio Grande Valley sector.
We've heard from the frontline operators that this is where we need the wall. So I wanted to come and see for myself in terms of prioritization why it was important to build here.
This is the most active sector in the Border Patrol right now amongst the 9 across the southwest border. More apprehensions and arrests are done here, more seizures are done here, and the problem with unaccompanied children and family units is more acute here than it is anywhere else on the border.
Part of the issue, the border wall in this area is not a straight wall. There are gaps in it. Sometimes it's due to the terrain or natural barriers, and sometimes it's other factors.
This is the Santa Ana Wildlife Refuge. We cannot build roads.
It has limitations to law enforcement, but it does not have limitations to the criminal organizations.
Frustrating, right?
Very frustrating.
We tend to have the discussion about the wall with respect to illegal immigration problem, but you can't forget it's criminals, it's traffickers, it's smugglers, it's special interest aliens, potentially terrorists. It's all the same pathways.
A half mile through this bollard fencing is Mexico, and currently over 400 people are trying to get through any given day, some successfully. How does that number come down again? Congress has to act.
They watch what's happening in Congress, they watch what's happening. It's part of our national conversation. They're watching everything we do and learning from it, finding out how to exploit it.
The numbers don't lie.
Chief, let's take a look at this.
In January 25th, the new administration takes over. The rhetoric is strong, and what is the result in terms of crossings?
So this is the number of individual family units and unaccompanied children that are arrested here in the Rio Grande Valley during those time frames.
Look at the drop, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's 45-year low in May.
And then what happens?
So the calculation starts to change. Since May, these loopholes that exist in current law are now being re-exploited.
And the numbers go up again.
So the consequences matter, and that's a demonstration of it.
And it's not just facts and figures, it's what the actual border agents are experiencing as well.
You talk about trends. What did you see in January of this year, and what are you seeing now?
Trends, they were starting in January, things kind of calmed down, but they've kind of re-escalated again, and we've started seeing an increase of more people coming in and just continuing to enter.
We are seeing an upscale in, like I said, the narcotics, the hard narcotics. That's gone up a lot.
We know how the White House wants to fix that.
We are building a wall on the southern border, which is absolutely necessary.
And what did the president tell you when you got the job?
Build a wall. Protect our country.
But what do the men and women of CPB think?
If someone could build a barrier, would that help?
I mean, somebody could build a barrier, easier said than done, but of course it'd help out.
A wall works where we use it. We put fences and walls around things that we want to protect in this country. Our homes, our communities, parks, individual factories. We put fences around them because they work.
And for those who work the border, this is not just a job, it's a mission.
Definitely, we know for the majority of the folks here, they want to be safe. The more impact that we can have on illegal immigration, the better for them because they feel safe.
The laws are the laws, so we're not discriminating or being prejudiced towards any particular race or ethnicity. We're just doing our job.
And what a job it is.
Yeah. And that last agent left arena football to work the border.
That's great.
And he says to me, he goes, you can have a bad day. He said, the minute you have a bad day, guys are getting through.
Absolutely.
And they feel like it's the same teamwork attitude that he had in his years playing college and pro football.
Well, you can have a bad day. What does he mean by that?
You can't have a bad day.
You can't?
Yes.
Okay.
You cannot have a bad day.
I misunderstood you. Right.
Man, oh, man. Great job going down there.
Thanks.
It's really
it
interesting.
was great of them to do that. We got to go back. I'm going to go back night with my night vision glasses. They said it's going to be, that will be really raucous. I'd like to try that. Thanks to everybody that made that happen, especially the Homeland Security Secretary. Meanwhile, 29 minutes after the hour, Jane Fonda is spending thousands to make sure Republican Congressman Darrell Issa is out of a job. His response?
When Hanoi Jane puts $100,000 in to defeat you, I have so little respect for her after she betrayed our country.
Right. And he was not done. And he's got more challenges from other celebrities.
And from tax reform to a new national security strategy, it is a huge week for President Donald Trump. Hey, look who's here. Ivanka Trump is going to join us, and we got plenty of questions to ask her.
As a candidate, I promised we would pass a massive tax cut for the everyday working American families who are the backbone and the heartbeat of our country. We want to give you, the American people, a giant tax cut for Christmas.
Sounds good.
Are we on the threshold of just that? Ivanka Trump has been actually getting her hands dirty through this entire process, talking to lawmakers about the deal and making sure it comes out. Ivanka Trump, welcome back to the couch.
Thank you. I love being here.
Is this about you? Do you feel as though you're across the finish line?
So in business, until it's done, it's not done, but we feel very, very confident. So the momentum is there. We're very excited. When the vote is done, we'll be done, but we're going to deliver historic tax reforms, and it's going to happen before Christmas. It's going to be the fulfillment of an enormous campaign promise, and something that's just tremendously important for the American people. So we feel it. This is something the people of this country want. They want simplification. They want a tax code that they can understand. Right. They want lower corporate taxes and understand the benefit if the companies they work for can invest in their workforces, invest in new equipment, and ultimately lead to wage growth. And I think what we've done on the individual side by doubling the standard deduction, by doubling the child tax credit and increasing refundability to $2,000 a child, by creating a dependent care tax credit for those for those many Americans Americans who take care of adult dependents who aren't children, who are above the age of 18, but who are still dependent on them.
There are so many people this benefits. You would think that there would be some Democrats who would say, you know what, I'm for tax cuts for the middle class. I'm for helping small businesses. Why aren't there any Democrats?
One would think that, and there are a lot of Democrats, and they're all across this country. So the voters...
But what about the ones in the Senate?
Well, you know, we've had a lot of very productive conversations with Democrats who I believe are intellectually there, their hearts are there, but the party's not there, and the leadership's not there.
Leadership's not letting
And that is unfortunate, but I'm hopeful with this really enormous and historic win for the American people. We come into 2018 with such tremendous momentum that we galvanize support and cohesion, not only within the party, because I think one of the amazing things is how the party has come together, worked together to accomplish what they know the American people want.
Ivanka, we keep hearing Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. We had some guests on this morning. They keep saying it's going to hurt the middle class. But when you look at the tax brackets, everyone's numbers go down. Where are they getting that? Is that just a soundbite, a narrative that they want you to believe, or is it actually true?
Well, keep in mind that the vast majority of Congress in advance of Democrats signed a letter in advance of knowing what was in the tax bill saying that they wouldn't be for tax reform. So, you know,
Before they read it.
Before they read it, and before any of the details, even the principles, had been released. So I think we are in a very partisan climate in that regard, but the core principles of tax reform, the president and all of Congress has been very, very articulate of since day one. The president said that he wanted to deliver middle-income tax relief, targeted middle-income tax relief, and he also wanted to cut corporate rates to enable our businesses to be competitive and to thrive in a global economy, and this bill does exactly those things.
I mean, Reagan went from 50 to 28. That was substantial. You go down 2, and they're saying it's tax cuts for the rich. But possibly the thing that's going to be the most outstanding about this, and it's permanent, is the corporate tax rate. So it goes from 35 to 21. Now, if these CEOs and these corporations decide to invest in their own dividends and buy their own stock, that will not make it an effective corporate tax cut. It'll make all those naysayers say, I told you so. Have you reached out to any of these CEOs and said, what do you plan on doing with the tax break? And you know, even though you can't make them do anything, do you let them know that, or what is at stake if they don't?
100%. And we've been working very, very closely with the whole business community. Businesses large and small. So from day one, their voices have been represented at the table. If you think about it, small businesses will have the lowest taxes since 1931. So think about how that gives them the latitude to be able to invest in growth. So you know, when you look at the developed world, the reality is that over the decades that have passed since the last major comprehensive tax reform under Reagan, the rest of the world realized that cutting taxes enabled them to be competitive, and their rates dropped dramatically below ours. So this puts us on par or below. It's going to enable us to be competitive, and then it's going to enable these big companies and small companies to grow. And when you grow, you create jobs, you create wage growth, and we're seeing that. And that combined with the administration's aggressive deregulatory actions is really fueling tremendous growth.
The 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
You just mentioned President Reagan. He had a principle, peace through strength. And coming up this afternoon on Fox News Channel, your dad is going to be appearing, I think, in the Ronald Reagan Building in Washington, D.C., to unveil his national security strategy. How is this different than President Obama's national security strategy?
Well, it's based on the principles of America First. It's the principles that he's campaigned on and that he's governed based on since inception. I think what's remarkable is no president has rolled out, it's highly unusual for a president to roll out a comprehensive national security strategy within the first year. So this is yet another amazing milestone for this presidency and this administration. And I don't want to share with you too much about the content of the speech.
Stuff we heard during the campaign.
But you know, nothing will surprise you. He's been unbelievably consistent, and we're starting to see it really bear fruit in the war against ISIS and extremism around the globe, and in terms of our strength and our foundational relationship with those that we are competing with from an economic perspective, if not a security perspective. So you'll hear him articulate that, but it's been an unbelievable, really robust interagency strategy, and it's going to be articulated by the president, which is also unusual.
Yeah.
Normally, the president himself does not share the principles of the national security strategy, but this is so important to him and so significant and so consistent with the views he's long held and which the American people voted on, that he wanted to share it with the American people himself.
And it'll be on Fox.
I know you're going to hit the road today. You're going to
Yes.
Connecticut with the CEO, female CEO of IBM. What are y'all doing?
Well, Ginny's been amazing, and she's been so engaged with the administration for a long period of time, and she shares my deep passion for workforce development and the expansion of apprenticeships. So back in June, the president did an executive order to expand apprenticeships in America so that students would have the opportunity to learn while they earn. And Ginny has done a great job teaming up with local high schools, with community colleges, and with IBM to create a curriculum that will enable these students to graduate not only with a high school degree, but with an associate's degree and a job.
Wow.
And that's key. For us, this does tie into the broader picture of economic growth and tax reform. We want to create opportunities for all Americans. Some Americans going to college is not the right or the best alternative for them. So ensuring that we have growth in this country and that we align the skills being taught in the classroom with the jobs that are available in the market and in the modern economy. And they've done some great work on this front.
Getting a job.
Yeah, it's a huge focus of ours.
And get rid of the stigma of people not working. We're working with your hands as a much-needed skill in this country. Mike Rowe, John Ratzenberger talked about it. Real quick, before we go,
We have 6 million unfilled jobs, in large part due to the skills gap that exists, that people aren't used to creating things or building things anymore, and we really want to change that. So we're investing deeply in vocational education, technical education, and apprenticeship.
We need welders. We need plumbers.
We do.
Roofers.
And especially as we move into 2018 and focus on infrastructure and rebuilding our roads and our bridges and all of the great assets of this country. So as part of that, we're also going to be investing deeply in our workforce, which is the best in the world.
I know you have to run, but there's you had assignment. Talked with Senator Susan Collins, make sure she was in the fray, and Senator Bob Corker, two big assignments. Bob Corker and now the president have healed their rift. What role did you play with that?
Well, I think I met with Congress, both sides of the aisle, as I mentioned, in the early days, hoping that there would be an opportunity for bipartisan support, given the popularity of tax reform just generally. But I was very involved in the process of meeting with legislators generally, talking to them, hearing their concerns, addressing those concerns, traveling to their states to show that not only did we believe in this intellectually, but we weren't afraid to go before their constituents and say, this is good. This is good for your state, and this is good for the country. So I spent a lot of time on the Capitol, on the Hill. I'm talking with, I have great respect for Senator Collins, great respect for Senator Corker. I'm so glad that he came around and gave his vote. And he cited, actually, as part of his decision, not only that tax reform is critical and important to the country, but when coupled with deregulation, that would create the type of growth that we need as a country, not to incur a larger deficit.
Well, that's what they all ran on, so it's good. They're going to get a chance to vote in a couple of days. It looks like it's going to pass. Ivanka?
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.